All right. So, starting out class today, feel free to come into a comfortable position. So you can be reclined or seated. And just take a moment to start by stopping the momentum of what we've already been doing today. And coming into this moment as it is right now. Bringing the attention to the spaces that make you feel grounded and connected. So maybe the feet, the hips, the back. Sensing that contact that you are making with the surface beneath you. And noticing where the breath can be felt in the body as you breathe in and as you breathe out. We're going to be working with the concept of balance today. So we'll be going through physical postures that embody balance, challenge balance. But as we start out, I'd like to make kind of that shared group connection of balance in our lives. And what I've noticed is that I feel most off balance when I feel rushed, when I don't feel grounded, when I feel like things are moving a little bit too fast. And I feel more in balance and more able to respond from my best self when I feel grounded. And so being grounded is the root of finding balance. Sometimes we can overcommit, we can get kind of jittery or flighty when there's too much going on. And so finding that ability to come home to ourselves, to feel a sense of grounded in this space, in this moment, helps with achieving balance in our lives. And so the same will be true in our physical postures as we move through them. Reminding ourselves that it's okay to take our time. It's okay to take a few moments. In fact, it's best to take a few moments to feel the ground underneath us, to feel a sense of calm before we try to incorporate more balance. And so just kind of sitting with those words for a few moments here. Continuing to feel a sense of rooting, a sense of grounding, a sense of here and now in this moment. And then it's from this space that we can begin to invite a little bit of movement. So if you happen to have a strap, you can take that strap and loop it around your right foot. If you don't have a strap, definitely feel free to grab a hold of the leg, any place that's comfortable for you, back of the thigh, the calf, wherever works for you. That left leg can be bent or it can be extended long. And we're just going to move with the breath a little bit here. I like to place my left hand on my left hip for a little more grounding. Root the shoulder blades down, lengthen through the back of the head, connect the left leg down onto the mat, and then add that movement, opening the leg out towards the right, and then bringing it back through so that it's stacked on top of the hip. Inhaling to open and exhaling back to center. Taking that as slow as you'd like to. So if you want to take a few breaths in each kind of end of motion. Feel free to do that. If you want to just simply inhale, open, and exhale, close, that'll be a little bit faster. Taking that a few more times with the intention being not so much on the movement, but on the places that are feeling grounded and rooted. And then from here, you can take that strap to the left hand, and we're going to bring the leg just a little ways across the body, probably no further than above the left shoulder, just getting a stretch through the outer thigh here. Continuing to stay rooted on all of the parts that are connected to the mat. Encouraging the left hip kind of down a little bit. I just noticed that mine was hiking up a bit. Checking in with the felt sensations in the body. And then coming back upright, and we'll take the left foot into the strap. You can take a little pause here if you'd like to with both feet in the strap, connecting with that felt sense of back of the head, shoulder blades, all connected down to the mat. And then we'll remove the right leg. Taking a few breaths here with that left leg up, connecting with that sense of rootedness through the rest of the body. I like to flex my right foot to keep it a little bit more grounded to the earth. If your foot is on the mat, you can push it down a bit. And then from here, we'll take that left leg open on the inhale. And then exhale, bring it back to center. Again, if you would like to, you can certainly take a few breaths in each position. You don't have to make it a continuous movement. And inviting the concentration or the mindfulness to be at the places that are not moving, the places that are grounding. Maybe taking that one more time in each direction. And coming back to center, we'll take the strap to the right hand and just bring it halfway or less across the body, probably no further than the right shoulder or maybe just slightly past the right shoulder. Giving yourself a good stretch through the IT band area on that left side, the outer hip, hamstring muscles. Breathing here, softening what can be softened, the face, the jaw. And then coming back through to center, we'll come into happy baby, hands to the backs of the thighs or soles of the feet, drawing the knees down towards the underarms and rocking side to side a little bit. From here, we're going to cross the right knee on top of the left, as if you were sitting in a cross-legged position. Thighs can be pressed together. And then if you have the range of motion, it really depends on how long your legs are and kind of the configuration of things. If you have the range of motion and you can hook your right foot at the back of your left calf, feel free to do that. Otherwise, feet can just be kind of parted as if you were sitting cross-legged. We're going to bring the knees so that they are stacked on top of the hips here. So the core needs to be engaged. And we're going to place the right hand and the left hand on that right knee and just press the legs away at the same time that you press the hands away. So they're pushing into one another. Core needs to be engaged. Try to get that effort as much as possible into the core rather than creating tension in the shoulders. Finding a balance here of pushing hard enough that you feel the energy and strength in the core, but not pushing so much that it causes pain or strain. Couple more breaths here. Isometric contractions. And then releasing from that, and we'll cross. Actually, let's keep that as it was, keeping that right leg crossed on top of the left. You can keep the legs in that same configuration if you'd like to, as we take the legs over towards the left for a twist. Right arm can reach out towards the right. Chest is open. Gaze can be wherever feels best for your neck. For me today, it feels best to have it up towards the ceiling, but maybe you want to open it up towards the right. Breathing into that space to the right hip, right rib cage, right side body. And then coming back up to center now. And we'll uncross the legs and take the left on top of the right. You can wrap your left foot if that's accessible. If it's not, don't worry about it. We'll take the hands now and place them on top of that left thigh, just making sure that the legs really don't move. They're going to stay stacked on top of the hips. And we'll push the legs away and we'll push the hands away with the legs. Finding that isometric contraction, keeping strain out of the low back and the shoulders. You might feel some effort in the shoulders and maybe effort in the low back, but not pain or strain. Breathing here, finding that balance between too much effort and not enough. We don't want to create injury, but we want to encourage the abdominal muscles to wake up, to be active and strong. The core is a really important foundation of all of our balance poses. Couple more breaths here. And then releasing from that, you can keep the legs in the same configuration if you'd like to, and take them over towards the right. Left arm can reach out towards the left. If you don't like the legs in this configuration, you can simply stack the left leg on top of the right with bent knees. Breathing here, a couple more breaths. And then assisting those legs back to center, unwrapping them, and we'll begin to make our way up to a seated position. And let's take the right leg, once we get here, the right leg out towards the right, and then take the left foot to the inseam of that right leg, sitting up nice and tall. You can use your strap, especially since most of us have it handy here. Use your strap if you'd like to, loop it around that right foot. Find a really strong foundation here by rooting down through the sits bones, lengthening up through the crown of the head, and then hinging over that left leg, or right leg rather. Taking a breath or two here. And again, finding that shared intention of finding the spaces where we feel grounded and rooted. And then from there, finding that length and strength. And we'll inhale up, take the right hand over towards that left knee and taking a twist out towards the left. Lengthening up through the crown of the head. And then coming back to center, left hand will come behind us, right arm will reach up. And then if you'd like to, you can elevate, reaching the hips up, rooting down through that left shin, flexing the right foot. And exhaling, releasing down from that. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. So taking now that right foot to the inseam of the left leg. If you want to use the strap, you're taking that strap around the left leg, Finding your foundation and then hinging forward at the hip, lengthening through the spine, through the neck. Letting go of areas that might be holding on to unnecessary stuff, whether it be tension or anything else. And then coming back up to center, taking that left hand over towards the right knee, right hand comes behind. Lengthening up through the crown of the head. And then coming back to center, taking that right hand behind, left arm reaches up and open, and we'll inhale, lift up, finding that openness through the front body, the hips. And exhale, releasing down from that. From here, if you want to stay in a seated position because you don't want to be on your knees, feel free to be seated. You can do some seated side stretching. Otherwise, if you're okay with being on the knees, we're going to come to the knees. Feel free to pad them. And we'll take the right leg out towards the right. Gently press the hips forward. Reach that left arm up. Find that strong line of energy. And then reach up and over. Coming into a side stretch gate pose. And from here, taking that left hand down, we'll take that right leg up, coming into a half moon pose, kneeling half moon. We'll see this one later. Breathing here, engaging the core. And then releasing down from that, standing back up on the knees. And we'll take the left leg out towards the left. Inhale, reach that right arm up, press the hips forward. Find a lengthen the spine. My neck is often so tight, so I often have to remind myself to try to lengthen my neck. And it might not look lengthened, but it feels lengthened to me, and that's what matters. Inhaling and exhaling, placing that right hand down, and we'll come into our half moon on this side, kneeling half moon. You can take that left arm up, or you can keep it at the hip. You could also have it down for a little extra point of balance. And then releasing. From that, we're going to make our way now to all fours. If you don't want to be on all fours because of knees or wrists, feel free to come down to your belly and do the same movement. We're going to extend now the right leg and the left arm, finding that sense of balance and connection, focusing more on that left hand or that right hand rooting down and left leg rooting down. And then exhale, releasing from that. Inhale, taking the left leg and the right arm, finding that sense of balance and rooting down through your left hand and your right leg, lengthening the neck, the tailbone, and releasing from that. We'll move with our breath now, inhaling to reach and exhaling to release. Working on core, balance, stability. And feel free to make your breath as auditory as you'd like to. Inhaling and exhaling. I found that as I've been working out at home more, I do allow myself to breathe a little bit more purposefully. I'm not so worried about what people will think around me. So that is another benefit of working out at home. And then let's pause with the left leg and the right arm. engaging the core, lengthening the spine. We're going to take just a couple of small pulses here. So lifting about an inch and lowering about an inch, maybe less than an inch. And releasing that side. We'll take the right leg now and the left arm and take those tiny little pulses, maintaining stability as best as possible. And releasing from that. Excellent. From here, we're going to walk the feet forward underneath the hands and find a gentle forward fold. You could take opposite hands to opposite elbows if you'd like to, and just release tension, sway a little bit. And then on the next inhalation, articulating the spine up to standing. Coming all the way up here, reaching, and exhaling, coming through to center. So focusing a little bit here on the feet. So the foundation, big toes, rooting the big toes down. Noticing all sides of the feet, rooting those down. Finding just a slight sense of softness to the knees. Tailbone reaches down towards the floor and the crown of the head reaches up. Arms are active. Inhaling, reaching. Exhaling, taking right hand to left wrist and reaching over towards the right. Back to center, over towards the left. Back to center. And then taking the hands back and around to the low back, finding a lift here, continuing to focus on the feet rooting down. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, folding forward. Hands can trace down the backs of the legs if you'd like. On the next inhalation, find your halfway lift. And then exhale, folding back in, rooting through the feet as you rise all the way up. Reaching up here, and then taking that left hand to the right wrist, reaching over towards the left. Back to center, over towards the right. Back to center. Hands will sweep around and we'll inhale to lift the chest. Exhale, hands can come to the hips as you fold, hinging at the hips. Hands can trace down the backs of the legs. Inhale, find a halfway lift, lengthen, little mini back bend here. And then exhale, folding back in. Inhaling, rising all the way back up. And we'll exhale, fold forward. From here, again, find your halfway lift. Big toe mounds, root down. Spine is long. Chest lifts. And exhale, gently folding back in. We're going to step the right leg back into a lunge position. So we're coming into some sun salutations now. Use whatever support you would like to make your way up to standing lunge. And from here, you can take your left hand to your left hip, reach your right arm up, and then take a side bend through your right side. Focusing on the feet as best as possible, changing your stance a little bit if you need to in order to feel more solid in your base, your foundation. And then coming up to center. From here, right arm reaches up, left arm reaches down, and then we'll straighten both legs and hinge forward. Left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back. Inhale, bend the knees, right arm reaches up and the left arm reaches back down. So we're just kind of reciprocating the arms as we hinge forward and then come back through to lunge. So checking in with yourself. Are you feeling rushed? Can you slow down a little bit? How is your foundation? Are you feeling grounded? Is there something else that you can offer yourself for a little more support? Maybe something else to tap onto, another point of contact. And taking this dynamic balance one more time, meeting in that upright position. We'll take the hands now to the back of the head. Fingertips can be kind of at the base of the skull as we elongate the neck, lift the chest. Find an openness through the front body. And then exhale, bring the hands to heart center, hinge forward, and take that right elbow just above the left knee for a prayer twist. If that does not feel good in your body, certainly feel free to take that right hand down to a block or a chair or the mat. Actively pushing back with that right heel. And then exhaling, taking those hands down to the mat. We'll step the left foot back to meet the right, pedal the feet out, find your downward facing dog. Hands and feet as your foundation, spreading out the fingers, rooting down through the finger pads, the space behind the knuckles, the heel of the hand, just a sense of being curious about all the different places that you can root down to feel a little more grounded here. All of those points of contact helping with your balance. And from here, coming through to plank position, reaching crown of the head and heels in opposition. And then exhaling, lowering all the way down to the mat, untucking the toes, placing the hands underneath the head, the forehead. Taking a moment to elongate the tailbone, the crown of the head. Lifting the kneecaps perhaps a little bit up off of the mat as you engage the quadricep muscles. And then from here, lifting the legs just a little bit more so that the feet float up off of the mat. Still pretty much in line with the hips, so there's no strain in the low back. Feeling the backs of the legs and glutes engage. And then releasing down from that. We'll inhale, keep the hands as they are, and just find a slight lift through the upper back. Rooting down through the pelvis so there's not strain in the low back. Finding just that slight lift up off of the mat, and then exhale, lower down. Take a pause here. Reset yourself a little bit. And then we're going to combine both of those movements. So taking that lift in the legs and in the upper body. It's a very small lift up off of the mat, more lengthening than lifting. Feeling your points of contact, the bottom of the rib cage, the pelvis, the frontal hip bones, all rooting down as you find that slight lift through the other parts of the body. Turning the feet so that the big toes and the pinky toes are all facing down. And then releasing from that. From here, you could take windshield wiper legs from this position if that feels nice, or you could press back to child's pose or press back to downward facing dog. And from here, we'll meet in our downward facing dog, maybe pedaling out the feet a little bit again or finding stillness, rooting down through all sides of the hands. And then taking the transition however you would like to into that lunge position with the right leg forward. So you could come to all fours first if you'd like. Once you feel balanced there, you can begin to make your way up to a standing lunge. Hands can be on the hips to start here. Right knee stacked on top of right ankle. And we'll reach that left arm up. Right hand can stay plugged into the right hip as we reach up and over with that left arm. Feeling the stretch through the side of the body. Feel free to hold on to whatever you'd like to assist with balance. Wall or chair. And then coming back upright. we'll begin to straighten that front right leg, reach that arm forward, and then inhale, rise back up. Taking that at your own pace. Lengthening and bending and reciprocating the arms. And the next time you're up, you can stay up, taking the hands to the back of the head, lifting and opening through the chest, elbows wide. Continuing to actively push that left leg back. And exhaling, placing the hands at heart center, hinging forward here, and taking that left elbow just above the right knee as you twist to the right. Hugging the right outer hip in. Continuing to create length all the way from the left heel to the crown of the head. And then placing hands down onto the mat, we'll step left foot forward to meet the right, finding our halfway lift, lengthening here. And exhaling, folding in. Rooting through the feet to rise and coming all the way up to standing. We're going to do a little bit of work here with standing balance. So if you have your strap, you can grab it. If you don't have a strap, that's okay too. You can grab a hold of the back of the leg. So we're going to do these things that we did earlier from a reclined position, kind of with that muscle memory of having the spine nice and long and feeling that sense of groundedness. So we'll take this strap here and loop it around the left foot. Feel free to hold on to whatever you'd like to. And then we'll take that left leg and bring it out in front of us. So I don't know if it's better to look at me from the side or from the front. I'll do the side today. Continuing to focus on the places that are rooting down, the places that are connected. If you feel rushed, just kind of checking in with that and knowing that there is no rush here. And then taking that left leg out towards the left. Rooting down through the big toe edge of the right foot, gazing at a focal point, staying up nice and tall. And then bringing that leg back to center. And we'll release that. We're going to come into eagle now. So you can sink down into chair pose to start. And then you can take that left leg and cross it on top of the right. From here, feel free to hold on to something. Feel free to wrap the leg if that works for you, or have it hang. Hands could come to heart center, or you can tuck that left elbow underneath the right, finding the eagle arms. Continuing to maintain a bend in the standing leg, squeezing the thighs together like we did in that reclined position, engaging the core. And no rush there, but if you're ready to come out, feel free to come out. Grabbing a hold of the strap again, you can take the strap and loop it around the right foot. I'll just go this way again. I'm not sure which is better. And we will take that right leg out in front. Standing up nice and tall. Focusing on the foundation, the big toe edge of that foot, the big toe mound. If it kind of roots down, that can really help quite a bit with balance. Feeling the core engage can help with balance. As many points of contact as you can create. The eyes can be another point of contact as they gaze at something that's not moving. All of those things assisting us with balance. And then from here, taking that leg out to the side. Feel free to hold on to something if you'd like to. And coming back through to center, and we'll release that down. So we'll take the eagle on the opposite side, finding first, I like to find chair pose, just finding that bend in the knees. Length through the torso, and then crossing that right leg over the left, wrapping it if that works for you. Hands at heart center if that works for you. And then taking right elbow underneath the left for eagle arms if that works for you. All of these different layers to experiment with. And then unwrapping from that, taking the legs out wide, rooting down through the feet. Hands can be on the hips. And from here, we're going to shift side to side in a side lunge. So lunging through that left knee, lunging through the right knee, taking that side to side. If you want to, you can take your hands down to the mat. Just getting an inner thigh stretch here, focusing on the feet, rooting down, feeling stable. So here we're going to pause with the right leg lunging, and you may want to shorten up the stance a little bit. We're going to do a bit of dynamic balance. So coming up, we're going to reach over towards the left. And then take the hands down, lunging to that right knee, and then pushing off, finding that point of balance, kind of coming into like a star pose. And then lunging and reaching. And you can take it a little bit faster if you want to, just holding that balance for just a second or two. Stepping down nice and soft. And coming back eventually to that place of being at center. From here, if you have a block or a chair, you're going to want to step it so that it's over on that right side. We're going to lunge here through the right knee, coming into warrior two. So heel to arch alignment, right toes angle towards the right side of the mat. Left toes are kind of squared up or maybe turned just a little bit forward. Finding warrior two. Again, connecting with the points of contact to help with the balance. The more connected and grounded we feel, the more balanced we can be. We'll inhale to reverse. Taking the left hand down, reaching that right arm up. And then exhale to extend. Finding length here through both sides of the torso. Left arm can reach up if you'd like. Right hip tucks under a little bit. And from here, for a bit more of a challenge, you can reach that right arm in front of you. Utilizing the core, keeping those long lines on both sides of the waist. And then pressing through that right leg, straightening it, coming into reverse goddess pose with a straight right leg. And then coming back to center. From here, using your chair or your block, we're going to prepare for half moon pose. So you can take that block down, and this is similar to what we did before when we were kneeling. We're going to find balance on that right leg, tucking the right hip under, opening the left. Now, another way that is kind of nice to work with this is to have both hands on your chair, focusing on the low body, focusing on that opening up of the left hip. And gently stepping that back. You can take your block over to the other side so it's there when you need it later. And taking just a few times here of lunging side to side. So feet are pretty straight now. Wide-legged stance, getting that inner thigh stretch as you lunge from one knee to the other, reaching the hips back. And then from here, hands can come over. We're going to either take them down to the leg or down to the floor, lunging through that left knee, and then reaching up towards the right. Lunging and lifting, and you can take that a little faster, a little slower, just taking it on the opposite side from what we were before. Just kind of springing up off of that leg. Maybe one or two more times. And coming back upright when you're ready. We're going to turn now those left toes up towards the top of the mat, finding your heel to arch alignment for warrior two. Arms can reach. Taking a few deep breaths here, opening up through the inner thigh. And just perhaps again, inviting that sense of feeling really rooted down through the feet, connected with the ground underneath you. And we'll inhale to reverse, lengthen. And then keeping the legs just as they are, exhaling to extend. Keeping length through both sides of the waist, tucking under a little bit through that left hip. And then maybe taking that left arm forward. Finding strength and stability through the core, through the legs. And straightening up and out of that left leg, we'll reach the left arm up and over, coming into reverse goddess. And coming back to center. You can take your block a little bit closer or maybe even bring it into your hands. We're going to take that block down if you're using one and lift up and open through that right leg. Right foot can be flexed. Left hip tucks under. You can reach that right arm up if you want to, or maybe you've got it down connected to your chair if you're using one. And then gently releasing right foot to meet the left, pausing here briefly, finding a forward fold, maybe taking hands to elbows again and swaying side to side a little bit. Excellent. And from here, we're going to make our way down to the mat. Finding a reclined position. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I sometimes think, oh, reclined, yay, but that's not quite the case yet. We've got a little more work in front of us. So we are going to take the heels, so they're kind of tucked in a little bit, maybe closer than they would normally be, a little bit closer towards the glutes. Right away, connect the whole back body down to the mat. And do a little bit of work with bridge pose. So starting out, again, that foundation is super important. So the feet really root down. And then we start to take the shin bones forward and lift just a little bit through the very low back, and then roll the rest of the way through the spine, through the mid back, and a little bit through the upper back as we come into bridge pose, lifting up the hips, keeping length in the spine. If you need to look at me for any reason, just make sure that you come out of the pose, because you don't really want to be looking side to side when you're in an extension like this. Breathing here, feeling the back body engage, feeling your points of contact, your hands, your arms, shoulder blades, back of the head, feet all rooting down. And then articulating the spine all the way back down again. Finding a little bit of a lift through the low back as you take the frontal hip points up and forward, and then pressing the back of the pelvis back down onto the mat and articulating all the way up to bridge. This time we'll bring the arms along with us, reaching them overhead. And then exhaling, articulating all the way back down. Most of you have done this one with me before. We're going to just continue with this progressive movement through bridge pose, inhaling up, exhaling, articulating down, and then continuing that momentum as we reach the fingers actively forward, upper back off of the mat into a mini crunch. And then lower nice and slow the back body back down onto the mat. Inhaling up for bridge, arms come along. And exhaling, articulating down, lifting the upper body into that mini crunch, and then lifting the legs as well. You can keep them bent or you can extend them, coming into kind of like a low boat position, core super engaged, feeling your points of contact, replacing the feet, lowering the upper body. And then we'll do that one last time. Inhaling, articulating up to bridge pose. Exhaling, articulating down, reaching the arms forward and extending the legs, or just kind of lifting them with bent knees or not at all. Breathing here. Replacing the feet, and we're going to lift just a little bit higher. And then just kind of take that side to side. So palms of the hands are down. I'm shifting the right shoulder down, the left shoulder down, kind of drawing one side waist, kind of crunching it together, and then lifting the other side. And then releasing all the way down from that. Any type of movement you need to release the spine. If you want to take a little extension and a little flexion, go ahead and do that. Coming back to neutral, we're going to do one more thing with bridge pose. Arms at your sides, elevating up to bridge pose, lifting the hips. Staying here or elevating your right leg, so the right leg is stacked on top of the right hip. Exhale, lower the right leg so it's in line with the left, and inhale, lift. Taking that a few times as you keep the rest of the body as is. So focus not so much on the leg movement, but on the stability of the rest of the body. We'll replace that right side and take the left leg up, pushing actively through the right foot, and then lifting and lowering the left leg. Taking that a few more times at your own pace, trying to maintain stability in the rest of the body. And then releasing from that, uncurling the spine, maybe hugging the knees into the chest for a little counter pose. Rocking side to side perhaps a little bit. And then hugging the right knee in towards the chest will extend the left leg long. Take a few ankle circles with that right ankle. And then you go ahead and bend the left knee. Option to cross the right leg on top of the left for eagle legs like we did before, or keep the legs parted. So either one is fine. From here, we're going to cross the right elbow underneath the left or keep them parted. So if they're parted, they're just going to be kind of like this from that parted position. And then we're going to lower in any amount the legs and then exhale, crunch, drawing them together. Inhaling, extending, lowering, and exhaling, contracting. So if you don't like that eagle arms, eagle legs, you could have the legs and the arms parted. Hands could be at the back of the head. You could be doing the same movement, not with the eagle. So either one is fine. And then go ahead and hug the knees into the chest. Again, if the legs were crossed in eagle legs, uncross them and just hugging in. And we'll hug just the left knee into the chest. Right leg is long on the mat. Take those ankle circles if you'd like to. Relax the upper body. And then taking that bend in the right knee, we'll cross the left on top of the right if you want to do the eagle leg version. It's a mouthful. And then go ahead here if you want and take the eagle arms by crossing the left under the right. Inhaling to extend whichever variation you're in, and then exhaling, contract, squeezing everything together. Taking that at your own pace, using the core, making sure you're not overextending through the low back. Anytime you need a pause, you're taking it. And then when you're ready, releasing from that, placing the hands on the knees and just opening the knees and drawing them back together, just kind of stirring the knees and the hips in a bit of a circle. And then reversing direction of that. And then keeping the knees together, we'll take both knees over towards the right as we reach the left arm out towards the left. If you want to, you can extend the top leg or keep it bent. And floating the legs back through center, taking them over towards the left. Reaching that right arm out towards the right. If you want to extend your top leg, feel free. And coming back to center and setting yourself up for your final resting pose. If you need to make some adjustments, make some adjustments to get comfortable. Legs can be extended long or bent. You could be seated or lying down. And once again, connecting with your points of contact, feeling the support of the ground underneath you. Feeling the breath in the body as it comes and as it goes. And if at any point you feel as though you're drifting away in your mind, see if you can come back to the place of being grounded and supported. Sense that the body is making contact with all of these different points. As you're here in this quiet space, I have a quote to share with you from Danielle Orner. It says, "Life is a balance between what we can control and what we cannot. I am learning to live between effort and surrender." I'd like to thank you all so very much for sharing your practice and your positive energy with each other and with me this morning. Namaste.